The game never stops, and neither do we. Welcome to the SDH Network. We're always around the corner from everywhere. And the Morning Espresso this morning is brought to you by Oglethorpe University, Atlanta's premier undergraduate learning experience and soccer powerhouse. Before we dive in this morning, I'm Jason Longshore. A quick note on last night. No soccer over there. That's on me. I was feeling a little under the weather. You might be able to still tell in my voice. It's not great at the moment. I thought rather than try to power through the show last night, it might be smarter to try to keep my sinuses intact. The tissues are being used quite a bit as of late. I had the lemon ginger tea yesterday with a little bit of honey. Trying to get the eucalyptus essential oils going to help. All the things. It's just when the temperature is going up and down by like 30 degrees in a 24-hour period, as it's been here lately in Atlanta, it's kind of getting to me, and it hit me all second half of the day yesterday. I'm getting through. I'll power through at least a morning espresso for you this morning. But soccer over there will be back next week with more regularly scheduled shenanigans and buffoonery. Let's get into the morning espresso. Speaking of buffoonery, let's go to Madrid. Xabi Alonso is out. It feels like another chapter in a story that we've seen many times at the Santiago Bernabéu. 7 months. That's all Xabi Alonso got. 7 months from a bold appointment to an inevitable exit. And it felt like an inevitable appointment at the time. He's now being replaced by former club stalwart Alvaro Arbeloa. So Alonso comes over from Bayer Leverkusen, real momentum, unbeaten Bundesliga title a couple seasons ago, big-time credibility on the tactical side. A sense that maybe Madrid was finally going to embrace a manager who would impose structure instead of just managing stars. That was what a lot of folks in the media and a lot of experts said Madrid needed, and they said that this was the right hire, and they said that Madrid did the right thing. Well, sadly, then a lot of the conversation turned from some of those same people about how Alonso wasn't managing the stars very well, and he was trying to do too much. And then the conversation started in the media about asking the players to do too many different things and this and that, and Madrid rarely operates on paper. They do operate in the media quite a bit. The results, they weren't catastrophic for Xabi Alonso. 14 wins in his first 15. A Clásico win over Barcelona in October. That put Madrid 5 points clear at the top of La Liga. But that same game also exposed some issues. Vinicius Jr., his reaction to being substituted, which was not the wrong thing to do by Xabi Alonso at that time, the reaction created an issue, and that's on the player side. It was public. It was raw. The club did not fully back the coach in this moment, and that opened the door for more nonsense. When the dressing room senses that the club is not fully backing the coach, it's kind of a matter of time, isn't it? Everything started to unravel after that. You started to hear about senior players being upset about rotations in the lineup. Jude Bellingham became undroppable. That upset some folks. Kylian Mbappe, his actions with the Guard of Honor after the match in Saudi Arabia for the Supercopa, that upset some folks. That also showed that the players weren't necessarily following what Xabi Alonso was telling them to do. The pressing system that Alonso wanted to build, that faded away. It became much more of a reactionary Madrid rather than a proactive Madrid. Injuries mounted, performances dipped, results dipped. Results are all that matter at Madrid. If the results are good, everything else can be washed away. When the results aren't there, that's when people start talking about style. Style doesn't matter at Real Madrid. Wins do. Whenever style comes up in the conversation at Madrid, it is just a negative to be negative. All they want is wins. And we've seen that over the years. It's not about a style of play. It's about winning. And when the wins aren't happening at the level that people want, that's when you get into these kind of situations. Once Barcelona knocked them out in the Super Cup final, Florentino Perez had his moment to make a change. The club framed it as mutual consent. Nobody really believes that. Alonso's contract, I mean, he always knew that this was the nature of this job. He knows the club. The board had been discussing his future for over a month now. The defeat to Celta Vigo, the loss to Manchester City, the tension with Vinicius. Now there's contract renewal issues that were there before, but are now more of an issue. We'll see if Madrid uses this move to help them get a new deal with Vinny Jr. We'll find out about that. Xabi Alonso never had the political protection needed to build what he wanted to build and needed to survive. Arbeloa comes in. He's a former player. He knows the club, but he also understands the balance of power. He knows now, especially because it's been reinforced right in front of his face, it's about managing egos, not about managing tactics. This is the hardest coaching job in the world because it's not really about the coaching. It's about the managing of the players. You're always, whenever you get hired, the clock is ticking on when you're going to get fired at Madrid. That's just the nature of it. That's the pressure of the job, but it's also the political situation with the club. You don't have time to go in there and build. And as we talked about when it came to all of the other big managerial changes that we've seen in this month with, whether we're talking about Ruben Amorim, who did have some time, Enzo Maresca, who had some time, Wilfried Nancy, who did not have any time, more often than not, clubs are not going to give managers time to build. They're just not, especially when we're talking about clubs at this level. So it becomes a real challenge of how much do you do as a coach? What clubs do you go to, and can you really build and coach? What clubs do you have to go into and say, you know what, I'm just here to try to win games, and really the way that I get there doesn't matter as long as I win. It's a shame. It's a shame because I also go the other way a lot of times, in that clubs of this size and of this stature have the ability to be more patient if they so choose. They just often don't. Let's come back home to the NWSL. Lindsey Heaps coming home to Denver. It's one of the biggest stories in the women's game this week. U.S. women's national team captain Lindsey Heaps heading home to join Denver Summit FC this summer. It's a deal that will run through the 2029 season. She'll leave OL Lyonnais after the current season in France. It's a franchise-defining move. It's not purely just a feel-good story. This sends a message across the league and beyond. This is an expansion team that is coming in to try to win now. It's an ownership group and a sporting department that want to compete right away. Heaps brings leadership, standards, instant credibility. She's won league titles all over the place. She's won Champions Leagues. She's won World Cup. She's won Olympic gold. She knows what all of these environments take to win. It's a full circle moment for her. She's a Colorado native. She turned pro straight out of high school, didn't go to college, went to PSG, built a global career, played in the league with Portland, and now returns to a league that looks very different than the one that she left. There's more investment, there's bigger ambition, there's a real commitment now as there's more competition to keeping American stars at home or bringing them back home. Denver, the front office is led by Kurt Johnson. The manager is going to be Nick Cushing. Very clear about targeting top-level players with Colorado ties. This is a big deal. This is a big signing. Denver getting a midfielder who controls tempo, sets defensive tone, influences every phase of the game. And they're also getting a standard bearer for what the club wants to be. This is a club that is also not going to show patience, but maybe in a good way here. They're showing the ambition. And Denver is going to be a team to watch this season in the NWSL. Silly season. It's starting to do what it always does. In January, rumors are actually coming to fruition. Urgency's creeping into the boardrooms. Pressure forcing hands at clubs all over the world. The biggest deal bubbling right now is Conor Gallagher to Tottenham Hotspur. They are set to complete a €40 million move for the England international from Atletico Madrid. Aston Villa were chasing him. Spurs jumped in above them and got the deal done, it looks like. It's a necessity move. The Spurs midfield has stalled. You've got an injury to Rodrigo Betancourt now. That puts him at risk for the World Cup potentially. He had to have surgery on a hamstring. There's not enough depth. And this is a situation where Tottenham have to figure this out. Gallagher gives them that ability. Nottingham Forest, they're looking for a short-term solution in the attack with a potential move for Mehdi Taremi from Olympiacos. It's not glamorous, but it's a practical move. You have shared ownership between Forest and Olympiacos. Barcelona, they have brought back Joao Cancelo on loan from Al Hilal. You had to do some gymnastics on the salary cap. You had to pull some injury exceptions and all that kind of stuff, but you bring a familiar face back. Hansi Flick gets some immediate quality as Barca push to extend their lead in La Liga and push for a Champions League. And then there's Lucas Paquetá at West Ham. He wants out. Flamengo want to bring him back. West Ham need all the help they can get as they try to fight off relegation. Paquetá has been through a lot in England. The investigations, the missed transfers, public frustration. He wants to leave. Does West Ham try to keep him even though he's unhappy, or do they let him go and try to go out and reload? They're going to have to make a decision quickly. There's also talk about Jack Harrison, formerly of NYCFC, headed to Fiorentina. That one is starting to bubble up. Clubs are looking for solutions to bad situations right now. Players are looking for new moves that can reignite their career. Stay tuned. Silly season still has plenty to go. Speaking of silly season, let's bring it back domestically. San Jose Earthquakes linked with Timo Werner, nearing a designated player move from RB Leipzig. He's got a ton of experience, but he needs a fresh start. He hasn't really featured at Leipzig. He needs time. He needs to play. He could be paired with Chicho Arango and another DP spot, which is also still available. Bruce Arena is reshaping this attack in San Jose in a big way. San Diego, they have extended the contract of Mikey Veras, their head coach, after a historic inaugural MLS season. He's fit in perfectly in MLS. Can he continue to grow from here? We're all going to find out together. Minnesota, with Eric Ramsey leaving for West Brom, Cam Knowles has been promoted to manager. He's grown inside the organization. He's been an interim before. He has helped be part of this Minnesota staff that has, I think, elevated where the Loons are right now. So they are betting on keeping continuity going and keeping the culture inside the club right now. Houston Dynamo, they have strengthened both sides of the ball with two big signings. Argentine midfielder Agustin Puzat, he arrives from Vélez after captaining the team to a very big season in 2024. Brazilian defender Lucas Halter comes from Botafogo after winning the Serie A and Copa Libertadores back in 2024 as well. Two proven winners, two leaders. Houston trying to raise their standards as they have not done a good job of that as of late. NYC, they bring Maxi Morales back. The 38-year-old returns for his 10th season. He started every match last year, and he was very, very good. His experience is huge. And I think for NYC, he's such a huge person there on and off the field that if he can still go, sign him. Now, Father Time's undefeated. I just don't know when Father Time's going to come for Maxi Morales because it didn't look like it last year. FC Cincinnati, they've added some depth up top with the signing of Tom Barlow, who arrives from the Chicago Fire through 2027 with an option beyond that. 50 matches over the last 2 years. A long time with the New York Red Bulls. Good signing for depth up top for Cincinnati. Birmingham Legion, just west to us in Alabama, they have reshaped their leadership. Jay Heaps steps in as head coach after Mark Briggs departs to become an assistant with FC Dallas. Heaps has been running the Legion from a front office standpoint, but now he goes back to the touchline after being the manager of the New England Revolution for quite a while. This is a big move for Birmingham Legion, and we'll see how Jay Heaps does after a long time away from the touchline to take over in the USL Championship. Today on SDH AM, it's a packed show with John Nelson. Steve Cook, our old friend from Atlanta United too, he joins to talk about his new role at Lexington SC, the launch of his college advisory program, which helps young players at the club navigate the pathway to the next level. South Island United forward David Yu stops by as well as the OFC Pro League gets closer to match day one. He's a hometown story, local kid playing for his local club. And at 10:30 this morning, AC Boise head coach Nate Miller joins as his roster build starts to take shape. If you missed it yesterday, make sure you catch up over at soccerdownhere.net. my report on Ronald Hernandez re-signing with Atlanta United. And make sure you're checking our YouTube and our Instagram and our TikTok for Madison Cruz's latest training ground dispatch with all the sights and sounds from training camp. Also, one more on the Red Clay Soccer Report side of things. The Seattle Sounders, they named former local star Ricardo Clark as an assistant coach. He had been with Vancouver on the second team side. An Atlanta native, originally from Jonesboro, U.S. men's national team veteran, MLS Cup winner. Now he is stepping up into the next phase of his career on Brian Schmetzer's staff. The refill, some headlines from around the world as we wrap up this edition of the Morning Espresso. Paris FC, one of the shocks of the season. They lost to PSG here recently in league play, but they knocked PSG out of the Coupe de France with a 1-0 win at the Parc des Princes in the round of 32. Jonathan Ikone, former PSG winger, scored the winner. Goalkeeper Obed Incambadio stood tall under some pretty relentless pressure, some big saves as of late in that one. Juventus, they surged into Serie A's top three, 5-0 demolition of Cremonese. Weston McKennie was among the scorers. Big win for Juventus. They're back into the title conversation. Manchester United, Michael Carrick is going to return as the interim head coach after an agreement in principle was reached with the club. He could take over for Saturday's derby with Manchester City. In Spain, the Negreira case is edging closer to a critical phase. The investigation into Barcelona's payments of two former referee official, Jose Maria Enriquez Negreira, it's nearing a decision on whether it will proceed to a criminal trial. Barcelona maintained the payments were for consultancy services, but prosecutors continue to examine the case. It could take years to resolve. In Brazil, Corinthians, they have secured a massive new sponsorship deal with Esportes da Sorte worth at least 150 million reais per year, with the potential to rise to 200 million based on performance and added revenue streams. Big financial statement as the money in the game is continuing to grow in Brazil. And then over in Ecuador, Liga Pro, they are preparing for a high-stakes 2026 season with a little bit different format. It's going to begin in February. It's a new structure that will raise the pressure across every phase of the campaign. You've got playoffs. You're going to divide the league into 3 groups at the end of the season with a playoff structure. It's chaos. You think MLS's playoffs are weird? Go check out Ecuador. It's even more chaotic. Final whistle from Madrid to Denver. Today's a pretty big day in how quickly things can shift in this game. There's probably going to be some wild January signings coming up in the next week or two. You got MLS clubs locking in their depth, locking in their leadership. And you got expansion teams like Denver in the NWSL, and San Diego is going into year 2 in MLS, showing some real intent in what they're building. My sinuses held up. I wasn't 100% sure. Thank you for bearing with me on this edition of the Morning Espresso podcast. I'll be back with you tomorrow for another podcast and another newsletter. If you like Morning Espresso and you're listening to the podcast and you don't know about the newsletter, go to soccerdownhere.net/connect to get signed up and tell a friend. Thanks for helping us grow the SDH network, and we'll see you tomorrow.